Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. On this occasion, I, Muhammad Rohim will present material on consumer welfare and its impact on aggregate demand. This material is crucial for understanding how our decisions as consumers affect the overall movement of the economy. Next. Consumer welfare plays a significant role in the economy because household spending decisions determine the demand for goods and services. Consumption is the largest component of aggregate demand. So, understanding the relationship between consumer welfare and aggregate demand is crucial for understanding how changes in spending patterns can stimulate our diverse economic activity. Next. To begin on our discussion, let's first look at the background of this material. From this background, several questions arise which we will address through three problem formulations. First, how does consumer behavior affect change in consumption in the economy? 2. How do change in consumer behavior impact aggregate demand? And 3. What factors drive change in consumer behavior that affect aggregate demand? Next. To answer this problem formulation, we need to understand the basic definition of consumer behavior and aggregate demand. Next. Consumer behavior is the process of thinking, feeling, and acting for individuals or groups before, during, and after purchasing a product or service. This process includes how consumers recognize needs, search for information, compare options, make purchases, and evaluate satisfaction after using the product. Aggregate demand is the total demand for goods and services in an economy at a certain time period and price level. This aggregate demand reflects how much goods and services are needed in an economy. Next, we turn to the factor that includes consumer behavior in decision making. Next. The first is cultural factor, including values, beliefs, and lifestyle that shape the way a person thinks and acts in the consumption process. The second is social factor, which are related to the influence of the surrounding environment which influence consumption patterns. The third, personal factor, relates to individual characteristics that differentiate one consumer from another. And four is the psychological factor, the relationship with internal process within a person. Having discussed the consumer bite, we now turn to the component that form aggregate demand in the economy. Next. Aggregate demand is composed of four main components, namely consumption, investment, government spending, and net export. In addition to understanding the component, it also important to look at the factor that includes demand, including price of the good itself, price of other goods or substitutes, and complement consumer income as expectation and population. By understanding these two aspects, we can see the mutually influencing relationship between the two. Next. The left curve shows that when the price level falls, the quantity of aggregate demand increases, and when the price level rises, the quantity of aggregate demand decreases. A movement up or down on this curve is called a shift along the curve. Meanwhile, the right curve shows the condition of aggregate demand moving on the right, which is characterized by an increase in aggregate demand due to factors other than price and vice versa. For a more concrete understanding, here is a case study that is relevant to this topic. Next. In this slide, we see a case study about the euphoria of e-commerce discount during Harbolnas. According to the Coordination Minister for Economic Affairs, total transaction during Harbolnas 2004 and 24 reached 31.2 trillion, an increase of approximately 21.4% compared to the total transaction record during the previous year. Factor number 1, the motivation of getting a lower price, feeling profitable. Number 2, value perception. Value perception discount is considered a rare opportunity. Number 3, price. Price cuts increase demand. And in fact, shows that household consumption has increased significantly because consumption is the main component of aggregate demand. Next. Based on the explanation and examples, we can draw the conclusion that consumer behavior is a determining factor in the dynamics of aggregate demand because change in consumer confidence, expectation, and spending patterns can accelerate or declare economic activity. When consumers are optimistic, aggregate demand increases, and when they are anxious or hold back on spending, aggregate demand weakens, thus affecting the stability and direction of economic growth. Thank you.